Greetings and salutations, YouTubers and malefactors. Today we are at a beautiful Spoaks MX Park in Lockhart, Texas. This is the, well, technically I did the first lap to see how the track had changed, see if there was anything noteworthy on it. And it was the first lap on the WR250R in the woods. So far what I've done to it is put a blinker relay, handguards, new bars. I did the kinetic sand in the bars, Pro Grip 714s, of course my number, a Flatlands bash plate, a Flatlands radiator guard, DRC foot pegs, and a tail tie down the DRC Edge 2, and some new blinkers and such. What we haven't done yet is toss on dirt gearing and dirt tires, and done something about these stock mirrors for dirt riding. But, whew, a little tall. But decided to see what this bike would be like in mostly stock trim. Oh yeah, and I've also taken the pogo spring effect out of the rear suspension, but I haven't quite finished tootling with the front suspension yet. I might add a little more compression to it, but for the most part it's pretty good. So from my first lap, and I'll kind of touch on it a bit more as we're out in the woods, the biggest mitigating factor of this bike is honestly the stock tires. We're using the Trail Wing, or the Bridgestone Trail Wing 301, 302 set. And since I don't have rim locks, I had to keep my air down to 18 pounds. So I didn't want to get a pinch flat out here. So I've only been able to air down this bike only so much. Before we get on the trails, and make sure everything's in order, because I've had a little bit of trouble with my microphone setup lately. Wanted to make sure we're in good shape. And I've nearly torn these mirrors off a couple times a day, so we're going to twist these in a little bit. And they're not bad, but I actually am kind of fond of the stock mirrors. So don't get me wrong, that's actually something I don't mind. We're just going to double check though, make sure my recording's still working. And yeah, we're back to the phone. Yep, still working. So quite honestly, bike's not quite broken in yet, so we haven't had the first oil change even. But I figured this would go a bit of ways to helping seat the rest of the stuff in the engine. And the trails are so tight here, you can't really go flat out and go crazy, so to speak. Alrighty, this is the hard part though, is when you wear a full-size backpack with your chest protector. It gets a little hard to fit back on. Sorry for the delay, folks, but, you know, better to take an inch of preparation than a mile of issue and problems. Alrighty. So the track has changed a little bit since I was out here last. They apparently have been kind of updating it a little bit. So it's been probably plenty pleasant experience today. It hasn't changed that much, but there's a couple of spots that have been updated with marking, and a couple of spots that have had a couple of hills changed up So first and foremost, the rear tire on this is actually fairly decent. It's like the middle ground between a Shinko 244 and a Kenda 270. It has the road manners of the 244 with the dirt manners of the 270, so it's usable. The front tire, well, actually, I dislike this front tire even more than the Tusk hybrid Recon. I didn't think that was possible. But this trail wing front is, it's pretty sketch. And yeah, I could do the log jump, but still kind of getting a feel for this bike. I will say, on average, this thing wears me out a lot less than the WR400 did. If I had proper dirt gearing and proper tires, this thing would be a blast. It still is a blast. I mean, this thing, even the stock gearing is not really that much of a mitigating factor on enjoying the trail, so you have a really long first gear. And I didn't stall it or have to feather the clutch at all. Oh goodness. Yeah, that's kind of one of the changes. Get cooking and realize you've got to switch back. Now, I don't really suffer a lot of bar vibration when riding dirt, but my hand cramp on this bike, my arm pump is greatly reduced. Ooh. From the WR400. That could be a variety of factors, not just vibration, but tractability of the bike. Ooh, yeah, it's a little wild and woolly. Front tire's a little skatey. But and vibration was part of the WR400F's discomfort. But I think it's just because of the way that it hefted its weight and the riding position and everything. It was a little rough on me. I will say it definitely had a lot more get up and go in this bike. But for a dual sport, man, this thing is a blast. I mean, mostly stock trim. This thing just eats up trails. It's nimble. Has quick turn in. Stock suspension's decent. Even stock gearing's usable. Yeah, it's a little high for the trails. But honestly, I'm kind of used to running high gearing because of that street legal RM125 I had. I ran street legal gearing in the woods on that. Ooh. That's another one of those things where the trail's a little different. Now coming in here shortly is the off-camber downhill. Yep, here it is. So these trail wings, not the best time for that. First lap out, I almost full on ate a face full of tree. As you notice, I had to take it real easy. So a set of tires I have on order are the Tusk D Sports. Never tried those before. I figured give them a shot. Everyone on this bike swears by the Pirelli MT21 front and D606 rear, and I've used it. That's a good set of tires, but I'm looking for something that's less than like $212 without tubes. And if the Tusk can do the same thing for $100-ish, then I'm happy. I figure what I'm going to do is I'm going to get the Tusks in, change tires, tubes, add rim locks so I can drop pressure down, run heavy duty tubes, and then run this stock gearing's 1343, I believe, and we're going to put this up to 1349. But I mean, out of the gate, this is a fantastic bike. I mean, all I've done is change the rebound on the rear suspension because it was getting a bit crazy. Some pretty deep mud there I found earlier. The trail wings did not like going through it. Actually, I had to get off the bike and walk it through it because it started getting stuck. So that'll be your limiting factor on this bike if you decide to ride it in the dirt out off the showroom floor. It's just me aware that these stock tires are a little anemic. I also noticed the guy who maintains the trails out here took away a lot of the head bumpers, so you can actually stand up a lot more out here. I will say the folks out here at Spoaks really do care about their trails and do a lot to maintain them. And I'm super appreciative of it. So yeah, when I ride these trail wings in the mud, I would avoid it, which I'm doing. I could probably tolerate the rear for mostly dirt riding, but not for street. Alright, not the front, I mean. For street, these things are great, actually. Super smooth, track well, don't do bad in the rain. But for street tires, they're actually pretty decent. So, yeah, I recently sold the WR400. I was having trouble on the bike because I was trying to hair scramble it and I'm just too short for it. And it being kickstart was just killing me. So it's 250R, which has been discontinued, unfortunately. My impression is this bike is a lot less tiring on the trails, even with the terrible stock tires. Aired up at 18 pounds. I never run my trail tires this high. Now, what's my impression versus other dual sport bikes I've owned? I have a WR250R that I had heavily modified as comparison, a mostly stock WR250, and a slightly modified Africa Twin. I also have years of other riding as reference, like a KDX 200, stuff of that nature. Alright, stock for stock versus a 250L. This thing obliterates it. I mean, like, oh goodness, this is a really deep rut. Stock for stock, this thing obliterates that bike. Not even a competition. So I put about $2,200 worth of mods into my 250L. Suspension, tuners, exhaust, da-da-da-da-da. You get the picture. This still obliterates the 250L even after mods. I could never ride a 250L like this. There was a lack of ground clearance and the bike had a really slow handle to it, even after you did everything. I mean, you can hair scramble 250L. I have. This is just immensely better. And this is stock with just engine protection. I haven't even done anything really to it yet. Alright, so versus the DR650. DR650 is a total pig versus this. I mean, it's more dirt worthy than the Africa Twin, but it's still a pig. Though if you like to overland, it's a lot better on the road than this bike. As far as like having to hit slab time, DR650 is a ton better. This bike isn't bad in the slab, it's just not as good at it. In the woods, that's versus a purpose-built enduro bike, this is like 85% of that. WR250R without mods like 50. You can get as close like 70% with mods. DR is like 50-50. This thing's like about 80% of the way to a purpose-built enduro. Versus the Africa Twin, well, that's not really a fair comparison because Africa Twin's a full-on adventure bike and about 300 plus pounds more than it. I could single track that bike, but that was a gargantuan effort. In comparison on the street, it's no comparison. Alright, so you've done some racing over your lifetime, Mike. Rode, KX 65, 80, Big Wheel 80, RM 80, RM 125, KLX 250 back in the day, DR 350, KDX 200. Out of all the bikes, this has the steering and suspension. Kind of like the way it sits, it carries itself. The ergos on it are like a KDX 200. Has a sort of forward lean to it. Out of the box, the front suspension's a little soft and a little under-dampened. And the rear suspension was way under-dampened. So once you actually set it to 3 clicks from absolute hard, it's... My thing was, if you had a 2-stroke engine in it, it would feel almost exactly like a KDX 200. Now people say this thing lacks torque, but honestly, this is street gearing and this thing is just fine. I lug it in first gear. I hadn't even had to feather the clutch really. And I had to do that on the RM 125 to ride this area. I think a lot of the people that say it lacks torque have done the exhaust mods to it. And part of what the stock exhaust has is a servo in it that manipulates exhaust pressure to increase torque on the bike. So honestly, running, I've actually ridden a fully modified one of these. I would say the modified suspension is probably a good investment. I feel as if the modified exhaust actually took torque away from the bike. And that's comparing a dirt geared one of these to a street geared one. But most likely I'm going to leave the stock can on. I don't care if it sounds like a sewing machine. I don't care if it looks cooler with the aftermarket exhaust. I really like the torque profile of this bike stock. Whoa! Front wheel escaped me for a second. So there's some more aggressive dirt gearing. Oh yeah, just eats that log up. Though in street gearing, I can't really loft the front wheel at all. It just goes munch, munch, munch. I think I'm putting some dirt tires on this and changing the gearing. Honestly, this bike, I'm not gonna try that one. This bike's pretty nice. I could probably go with a little more. Whoa! A little more compression on the front. We got a little bit of a dive on that's kind of a bit of a pain. Stock. But it's something that's like completely torturous or anything. You get me, little birdie? Oh, a cute little bird. I didn't know what that was. Whoop. And sorry I'm being careful, I just don't want to rip off my mirrors. Alright, so I got a little bit of arm pump, but not much. Oh yeah, that was one thing I forgot to list on mods. New levers, eBay CNC specials, but they fit the bike really well, and they're comfortable. So they've shortened this trail about half a mile from the last time I was out here. Which isn't a big deal. I kind of like the new areas. Old areas are pretty G'd out. So, versus the WR400, I cannot upshift the bike on an uphill. There's obviously not that much torque on tap. But man, this thing is nimble. And this bike's nearly 300 pounds. But it's just so nimble. I know I should be working on the blooper reel, but man, this has been the first good weekend I've had to ride in the dirt. I just couldn't stop myself. I'm really done with the blooper reel anyway, guys. I realized that a lot of stuff didn't make the cut for a lot of reasons. Mainly, I gotta remove a lot of audio. Whew. Someone needs to expand his vocabulary from 4-letter words, if you catch my drift. That's kind of a new section. Newish. Hey, careful of that branch there. Yeah, that's a lot of sliding these tires, so you can't really hold your throttle too much. But I mean, are they unusable? No, they're not unusable. The rear's decent. The front's trash. I could be happy with just a better front tire. I can make this rear tire work. Oh heck, I'm making the front tire work. It's just, it's like setting my trail ride to hard mode. I'm afraid to like just give it a bootful. Tell you what though, I get a little tingle on this arm with this bike, but not much. I really don't know if the Kinetic Sand's that big of a deal in the dirt. I feel as if it's pretty good on the road though. After doing a couple 100 miles on the street, especially at high speed, and having a hand that didn't go numb all the way to work. And I do a 70, 72, 73 mile commute, something like that. Even the Africa Twin made me shake out every once in a while, so I'm kind of impressed. And I did my first commute on the steel bars, which was a little uncomfortable. I think I need to adjust the clutch a smidge. Woo, yeah, get a little air. Ooh, yeah, don't want to go down there. Do a lot of impromptu off-kilter log jumping. So why did I check this thing out here though when it's a dual sport? And as I said, I wanted my tools handy. I didn't want to air down out here and then wind up having to figure out how I'm going to get home with a flat tire. Ooh. I will praise this trail wing front for one thing. It does not want to climb out of ruts. Totally content being a slot car. But it also kind of doesn't want to climb out of mud holes either. Alright, my hand's a little bit worn out, but not near as bad as it was. Spirited with this thing. It's got plenty to get up and go.
like, oh, the power's at the top end. Well, actually, I find it's got pretty linear power throughout. Yeah, it's got a bit of burst at the top end, kind of like riding a two-stroke, but it's got grunt. Engine-wise, it's kind of like a mid-90s KLX with more rev limiter. Oh yeah. Not a problem. Nom 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 nom. Just eat that log up. Okay, I can't loft over it, but the suspension just soaks it. I hate to admit it, but I think the suspension is actually a little better than the WR400 was. And that was freshly rebuilt and set kind of to my specs. The suspension is definitely miles ahead of the RM125. Whoa, that's a big hole. Would I take this on the motocross track as it is? No. That'd be a hard pass. There's like kind of an abrupt dip somewhere in here. I ratcheted myself a little bit earlier with it. Well, I rode by and gave the guy who does the trails out here a thumbs up. And broke concentration and racked the ghoulies. I even like the stock shifter and brake. It's like perfectly spaced for boots. Ooh, cows. Not really digging. I don't want to freak those guys out. Yeah. Contest between who wins the collision. Great trails!
Good.
Credit where credit's due. This dude does a great job out here. Oh, there's some real bikes there. Oh.
Yeah, that's the guy who maintains them out here. Oh. So do I think I can take this thing out and race it? Oh yeah. I do want my low seat first, maybe do the factory lower of a half an inch. But this thing would have been a much different result at Rocky Ridge, I think. Oh, it's going to take me a little bit of a breather here. Tell you what, though. Love it. So, that's a lap at Spoaks Trails. Yeah, and that radiator fan's going nuts. So what's the other big deal where you notice that you have issues with this bike? You want to check the bottom chain guard. That seems a little out of place. These things like to eat the bottom of the swing arm. So you just keep a close eye on that while you're running these bikes, especially if you're running different gearing than stock. Other than that, I think this is a good purchase. Well, we're going to go ahead and sign off, take a break. I might do another lap, but probably not record that one. Well, man, I'm having a gas out here today. And I haven't melted my turn signal, so that's also a plus. Well, thanks for hanging in there, folks.